Radha Sudanidhi ki jai. Prabodhananda Saraswati ki jai. We're finishing the last point of this verse, 53, which described 3 points: attaining the Siddhadeha by our meditation, Kishoryam Atmanam, Sukumarim. By Atmanam means thinking, identifying with my body, mind, and self. So my self is Radharani's Dasi, Manjari, like say Krishnara Das, Krishna Das. So at that point we discussed receiving the cloth of Radharani, or Krishna, or Guru, the principle receiving Prasadi Vastra, and what that means. It's an expression of love for the superior to the junior. And the last point of the verse, as most all the verses are, he's saying, Vivida Parichayaka Chaturam. He's saying when Shripad in his Manjari absorption, feeling and identifying as a Manjari, humble maidservant of Radharani, he's thinking, when, Kim, will I ever see myself in this position? As I discussed this before a little bit about when, in other words, we're in one position right now, even all of us, ladies and gentlemen, and we may want to be in another position. For example, you may be in Russia, and now you're in good position. Everyone's in good position, the Holy Dham. But you may be in anywhere, Bombay, Delhi, wherever, and you're thinking, I don't like so much. My heart is hankering for Braj, and my eyes are hankering to see Radha Shyam, and my ears are hankering to hear the holy name in Braj. And my feet are hankering to walk around Govardhan. So I don't like, I'm desiring, I'm hankering, and thinking about this position, Dham Vas, Dham Yatra. And we work on this principle all the time. No one's existing in the present. That's the problem. We're either going to the back before, I used to be young and so sparkly, but now I'm old and fallen apart. So we lament, and our mind goes to the behind. What I was, what I did, where I was. And our mind goes to the future. And meanwhile, we don't even see where we're going down the road, a Bhakti Marg. So for devotees, we do remember the past, and we are in the present, but we're very much in the future. Devotees, the progressive devotee, progressive sadhaka, he's a very futuristic person. Throughout all the bhajans of Narottam Das Thakur and Vishwanath and Bhakti Vinod and others, all the time you see this word kabe, kada. Kabe, kada means when. It means future tense, when in the future. So these are the great Siddha Mahatmas. Because someone generally, they're hankering for the future, or they want something in the future because their present situation is not agreeable. It's not likable. It's not what they want. Oh, I'm here, but I want to be there. I'm like this, but I want that. When will I be like this? When will I be there? So these liberated souls, Vishwanath, Narottam, and all the others that write in these bhajans, they are peaceful. They're not disturbed. They're not anxious about wanting something in the future or missing something in the past or lamenting. But they're showing us that this same principle, which has its material counterpart, which I mentioned, it may be negative for spiritual life, but for spiritual life. But in spiritual circles, to hanker for the future is a big part of our bhajan. Otherwise, we become what is called complacent. I don't know how complacent means. Complacent, I'll explain, then you can translate into Russian, since there's only basically 3 languages in ISKCON: Hindi, Russian, and English. So if you only speak one, you're at a loss. If you speak Hindi, Russian, and English, then you're a real, all-star. I guess all the future preachers will be like that. Because most Russians, they know English, and they're not too stupid, they're smart, so then they learn Hindi, then they got it. They'll be the best. Best. So this principle should be with us, and we're always being reminded that. He's saying when he's in a Nitya Leela, Shripad and Tungavindya in his Sakhi form or his eternal form, she is eternally in a Leela, but he's saying Vivida Parichayaka Chaturam. So he's mentioning here not any particular seva, but he's hankering to be in this position. What position? I'm hankering to be in a position of receiving love from someone. I think everyone is hankering for that. I want to be loved by someone. This is basic. This is because if you're a servant, it means you want to be loved by your master. A servant that's not loved by his master is an unhappy servant, is a disturbed servant. But a servant that's loved by his master, then he feels satisfied and he loves his master in return. So we are by Sarupakata, means our very constitutional nature is that we're servants. That's not a new point. So servant means he's hankering for the love of the master. The Gopas they're in Sakyaras, and they're hankering for the love of Krishna. And the Gopis are in Madhurya Ras, they're hankering for the love of Krishna. And Mother Yashoda's in Vatsalya Ras, and she's hankering for the love of her Lalaji, Nanda Dulal, Krishna. So the Manjaris, they're hankering for Radha's love. They're hankering because love means giving gifts, which we already described. So here he's hankering. When will I be in that position? What position? I'll be your maidservant. I'll be your Manjari, Kinkari. And if I am your Manjari, Kinkari, I will be very near and dear to you. I'll be very close to you. I'll be as close as your heart. How close is our heart to our body, to our being? It is the most close thing we have, our heart. So the Manjaris, they live in the heart of Radharani. And Radharani lives in the heart of the Manjaris. So if I am situated there at the lotus feet of Radharani and serving her and and of course Krishna, they're inseparable. So I'm serving Radha and Krishna Yugal, that's my goal, but with speciality of serving Radha. What about Mother Yashoda? Mother Yashoda is also serving Radha and Krishna, but she's leaning towards Krishna. What about Dhanishta and Brinda Devi? They're also serving Radha and Krishna, but they lean a little bit more towards Krishna. Although because Brinda Devi and Dhanishta, they're Krishna Sneha Adik. They fully love Radha and they fully love Krishna. And they arrange for so many leelas, Brinda Devi and Yogamaya, Purnamasi. But you see in different exchanges where the Manjaris are taking Radharani's side and playing with Krishna and saying, oh, Radharani's not coming. Then Brinda and Dhanishta are there and looking at the Manjaris, what are you doing? Why are you fibbing? You know that Radharani's in that kunja, but you want Krishna to become eager. So then they look at, because they're basically, that means they support Krishna's side when push comes to shove, as we say, when it comes to that point. So these are very fine points of the Siddhanta. But in this particular verse, he's saying, when will I ever see myself here and in the kunja, or let's say in this particular instance, Radharani's showing her love, Dadati Pratigrinati Bhunkte Bhojayate Jiva. She's expressing her love towards her servant. What type of servant? Her loving maidservant, her Manjari, her Kinkari. When I ran out of the kunja in the morning, so hastily to return to Varsana or Yavat before the sunrise, I ran out so fast I just put my arana, my chunari over my shoulders, and I ran out without with my kanchuli, or we say choli. And you noticed that, and you immediately got it and kept it secretly under your cloth. And then when we got back to Yavat, then when it was time for me, when I was waking up, then you slipped it to me, you gave it to me. No one saw, the Sakhis didn't see, my mother-in-law, no one saw. Mukura, my grandmother, didn't see. And now it's the time of my dressing, and all the Sakhis and Manjaris are around me, and they're offering me so many new clothes and ornaments and decorating. But I remember, you're that good servant. You're that very attentive and smart, clever servant. That's why the word here in Sanskrit is chaturam, parichari, anuchari, kinkari, kaikarnyam, manjari. They all mean servants, dasi. maidservants. So he says, Vivida Paricharyaka Chaturam. So Vivida means varieties, like it means Vivida means very colorful sevas, many varieties of service, at all times and all places. But Chaturam means I'm very expert. Like some people paint, and they're okay, but some people are expert. Just living in Vrindavan, just living here without offense, you automatically develop Braj Bhav. Means to love Krishna like the Brijvasis do. And your particular bhav is depending on the inclination or orientation of your heart. But Braj Bhav is a generic idea, and it may express itself internally or individually as Madhurya Bhav, or Sakhya Bhav, or Vatsalya or Dasya. These we find here. So I like the joyfulness of her paintings. In Vrindavan Mahimamrita, the same Prabhupada Saraswati, he asked this, So someone may ask the question, well, the Sakhi Manjaris, they're so expert in everything. They're Vivita Paricharekam Chaturam. They're very expert in so many sevas. Well, did they go to school? Are there schools up there in the spiritual world? And I'm sorry to inform you. I'm very sorry to inform you. The answer is yes. So school's not over yet. You thought you were out of school, and you can read in Swabishta 1 in Stavavali by Raghunath Das Goswami. One of his prayers is called Swabishta something, seva Swabishta. And there he's hankering for service. So he prays to different manjaris. He said, "Oh Vishaka Sakhis. So when will I come to you? When will Radharani send me to you to learn the art of joking? Narma Yukti. Narma Ukti. It's called Narmokti, which means Narma Yukti, conversation. Narma means joking. When will I? And I will sit at your feet, and you'll teach me how to tell good jokes, and you'll teach me how to teach me praheli. Praheli means riddles. You'll teach me how to make riddles and Krishna, like you see in Govinda Lila Amrita, Madhyan Lila, Radha and Krishna do riddles. Like Radharani says to Krishna, she says, "Krishna, I'm thinking of a gopi this, like that, and kind of all backwards descriptions. You can't figure it out. It's like a riddle. Do you know who that is?" And Krishna says, "That's Vishaka." He said, "Yes." And then Krishna says, "Oh, okay, I have a riddle." Then Radharani says, "Who is that?" So this is one thing. And then the next verse says, "When will I go to O Lalita Sakhi? I'm praying that I will sit at your feet, and you'll teach me how to decorate Radharani's face so beautifully, just like you see the deities in Vrindavan or Shamsundar or somewhere, or Damodar or Shamsundar. And they're painted so nicely and so expertly, and you may think, "Oh, I wish I could do like that. So nice, expert, that." Because that's because manjaris do that. They decorate Krishna's face. Because some manjaris go to Nandagram and help the Sakhas dress Krishna, and of course Radharani, they're there. So these prayers are there. So then the question is, how did the manjaris become Vivida Chaturam? How did they become so expert in different sevas? So the same Prabhupada Saraswati answers this question, and another one of his classic books, Vrindavan Mahimamrita. And I don't have the verse written here. I forgot the number. But this is a verse. He says, Shri Ishvari, Shikshata Shesha, Kala Koshala Salinim, Shri Ishvari Vagadi, Sarvan Gita Vichakshanam. So kind of can figure it out by now. Shri Ishvari is Shri Ishvari Shiksha. Everyone knows what Shiksha. Kala means the kalas, Kala Kendra. We say Kala Kendra means art academy or music academy. Kala Kendra. Kala Koshala Salinam. Shri Ishri Vagadi Sarvan Gita Vichakshanam. So then the translation is Srimati Radhika herself, Sri Ishri Radha. She personally has taught the manjaris all the Vivida Chaturam, all the Kala Koshala Salinam, all the varieties of arts, and by Radha's grace, the the Manjaris can understand all the hints that Radharani gives them with her eyes, words, and gestures. So the Sarva Sri Ishri Shiksha, Kala Koshla, the Manjaris have learned all the arts from Radharani. Then later, all the different sevas and arts, they've learned them all. Then Radharani later, she indicates like she wants something. Just like if you have a son and you send your son to art school and he learns art. So then later, at some point, you might say, "Oh, can you make a painting of Gopal?" "Oh yes, Father, I can do that." So he's asking you. So then it says, Sri Ishri Vag Adi Sarvan Gita Vichakshanam. So then, Iksha means her glances. So Radharani indicates to her Manjaris with her words, her Vag Devi, or Vagishri is a name for Saraswati. Vag Ishri or Vag Devi. Vagisha, she's called Vagisha. She's a controller and mistress of speech, Saraswati, who's an expansion, of course, of Radharani. In the spiritual world, there's Divya, spiritual Saraswati. And she has her material counterpart, the goddess of material knowledge. So Radharani, by her words, by her Sarvan Gita, by her gestures, and by her eyes, she indicates, and then the Manjaris very expertly carry out whatever seva that Radharani indicates. Everything's very subtle. Radharani gave her dukulam, which means like the dress in the bottom part, and gave her the kanchukapatam, gave her the we call choli. So Mahaprasad of Radharani. So happy that Manjari. So now it says here, I'm wearing that. I'm wearing Radharani's Mahaprasad. And it's like, this is my greatest treasure. In the Tikas of chapter 39 in the 10th canto of Bhagavatam, that's 39, but the Tikas of later, maybe chapter 46, 10th canto, when Uddhav came to Vrindavan from Mathura. 46 and 47 describe his visit. 47 is primarily Brahmar Gita, Radharani's mad Chitra Jalpa, mad talks, and Udgurna, her symptoms of divine ecstasy, Mahabhav, in relation to that be and separation. So when he came, he met Yashoda first, and Nanda and other cowherd men regularly he stayed many days and nights. Then finally he met the gopis, last of all. So he heard from the cowherd men and the cowherd boys, and he heard from the mothers, and he heard so much about Krishna and tried to speak something to comfort them. But one thing he noticed, that when he came to Nandagram, Yashoda and Nanda is described, they were lying outside the palace. This is in the BBT also, and also Sarta Darshini. They were lying out in the courtyard on the ground. And they hadn't gone back in the palace since Krishna left, which was quite a few months before that. And inside the palace was all full of dust. There was all dust. It's as if you leave your door open in your house in Vrindavan for 2 days, you have 2 inches of dust on your floor. So much dust. There were cobwebs. There were cobwebs in the ceiling. Cobwebs. It was like spider webs. Cobwebs. Spider webs, like here probably you see. Spider webs in the ceiling. My choky jar is going to clean. There's spider webs, and then their clothes were all soiled, and they were wearing the very same cloth that they wore when Krishna left. Yashoda Nanda. And why is that? Because this cloth, because when they went down, when Krishna was leaving, everyone went to the chariot. Even the gopis were there. Everyone was standing around Akrura's chariot. It was a very tragic and pathetic moment. That someone comes and rips your heart out of your body. That's a very tragic moment. So Krishna is the prananath of Radha and all the gopis and all the Brijvasis. And now Akrura is ripping them out of their hearts, taking them to Mathura. And that Viraha Gita. And so the gopis are all standing around there with Jatila and Vrishabhanu and Yashoda and Krishna and Balaram, all sakhas, everyone's standing around looking at Krishna and Balaram on the chariot. And they're just quiet. And everyone's looking at each other. Radharani and Lalita, they're looking. And then finally, at the last verse, in that description of Viraha Gita, they couldn't contain themselves anymore. Then they were saying, they screamed, they yelled out in unison. They all yelled out, Govinda, Damodar, Madhava Eti, Govinda, Damodar, Madhav. And from this shloka of Bhagavatam, Bilva Mangala Thakur came like 4,500 years later and wrote Govinda Damodar Stotram. Govinda Damodar Madhaveti, Govinda Damodar Madhaveti. And there's that whole beautiful stotram. It's in Giti Guch or others. I don't know there, but it's there. So the gopis, and then everyone looked at the gopis like, what? Your husband's name is not Govinda, your husband's name is Abhimanyu. And Chandravali yells out, Govinda. Your husband is not Govinda, your husband is Govardhan Mala. Chandravali's married to a coward man named Govardhan Mala. Govinda is that boy in the chariot. Govinda, that Damodar is from Gokul and got tied up by Yashoda. Govinda, Damodar, and Madhav. Wait a minute. So they were. So Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they didn't change their clothes. Why? They would have found their clothes because those clothes have the fragrance of Krishna's body on them when he was sitting on the chariot, Krishna Balama's body, and the dust, and when those wheels, when the chariot was moving down the road and kicking up the dust, all the dust from the chariot was in the air, and it was just falling all over their clothes. So they were only maintaining their lives. They were not eating. It says in the Tikas that Yashoda and Nanda, what to speak of the gopis, they were not eating anything, and they were just smelling the fragrance of their clothes because this was the remnants of Krishna, Krishna's gandha, sugandha, his saurabh. The fragrance of Krishna's body was still penetrated and mixed inside the cloth. So they was, oh Lala, oh Nanda Maharaj, oh Ananda Dalal, when you coming? So this is another form of prasadi cloth. So I think we'll stop there and we'll start tomorrow fresh, new verse. Is there any questions on today's verse? If you have regular questions, you can come on Sunday between 4 and 6. We have like satsang then. Krishna conscious questions. But here it's on this verse. The Manjaris, their expertise in service, or anything. I like to read the verse again. It's because it kind of wrap it up. That's what I like to do. This is verse 53. Tukulam vibranam atta kuchatate kanchukapatam prasadam swaminya swakaratala dattam pranayata. Swamini prasadam swakara taladattam pranayata. The Radharani swakara, kara means like we say kartals, because kartals used to be tal. Radha Suniti ki jai, jai jai Shri Radhe. Radha Govinda Dev ki jai, Shamakunda ki jai, Radha Kunda ki jai, Purushottamadikat Mas Brata ki jai, Prabhupada Saraswati ki jai, jai jai Shri Radhe Sham.